perfect. You let us know when you're ready and then we'll just... Are you recording?
Of course. This is the best bit. Oh, you can't see our dirty floor in that video. I've time to heave it, yeah.
That sounds dirty as well, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, it needs a bit of clean, yeah.
Okay. Don't look closely at that, everyone.
No, don't look. Yeah, don't look at we need to give it a bit of a clean, full disclosure. Right, hi everybody, I'm Louise, I work for Absafe.
I'm Karen, I also work for Absafe.
I'm Victor, Victor Omondi. I work for a local community organization, just a charity organization. We try and support sports and physical activities in schools within the city.
So I'll talk a little bit about how we got connected. I can't remember how we got connected, but I can tell why did we get connected.
Because I met Victor at Bucksburn Fair. At Bucksburn School.
Right, okay. So Absafe do lots of things around health and safety and risk, but a lot of it is health and safety to do with mental well-being. Yep. So Victor's very good at his job because he came to see what we did and then we ended up volunteering for him, which I thought was quite genius. And we have commented how smooth that was. It was like, yeah, so the buy-off for that was he then agreed to do a podcast for us. So I think what it shows, in a serious note, is that it shows that you can actually work together, and I think not enough charities work together in the locality. We've just had an email about them and it gets a bit complex, but actually it's just about, look, we can do something for you, and the outcome I guess is always it's about the kids, what the kid's going to get from it. So we taught 4 weeks of rugby. I don't know if have you had any feedback about that?
Oh, it's been great.
Has it?
Yep.
Let's talk about that. That's more.
Okay,
Yeah.
so off of the back of the sessions that took place, I had 2 families getting back to me saying that the young people really loved the session, and they were asking where they can take part in the sessions out with schools. So, it's one thing for them to reach out to me, another thing for them to be outright and say that the young person asked for it.
Yeah.
And it's another thing for them to ask to take part in it, not just in school, but in a local club. And I think that was just an icing on the cake.
Can I just say that's really amazing, because there was only 9 kids.
Considering there was only 9 of
So
them.
you did like 2. I'm trying to work out the percent, but I can't do it. So the 2 out of 9. 2 out of 9. Where's Harry, my son, when you need him? And do you know what was really great about it? The sessions were only an hour, and it was quite difficult sometimes to get there and kind of organise it. But I have to say, Ken had more fun, because then he started thinking he was part of the group that were learning to play rugby. Because you've never played rugby, never watched rugby. So it was quite interesting, and I think what was great about it is that I think sport does lots of things, but also teaches you a bit of discipline. Yes. And I don't mean like discipline, but it's like you have to play as a team.
Yes.
And you have to listen, you have to follow rules, and you can't. So because rugby is a contact sport, even though they weren't playing contact. I mean, we did a bit of tackling with Ken's punch bag, which actually ended up in my boot. Actually,
which is still here.
Yeah, actually, because George, my son, said, "What is that banging the back of the seat?" And I was like, "I don't know." And then we put the shopping, I went, "Oh." And he was like, "Why have you got a punch bag?" I went, "Well." But I think it's because it's such
stress relief.
Working with Karen does that too.
Yeah. I just have to carry it around everywhere. Yeah. Talk about exercise. I just need to release the stress. But I think it's quite. I think that's what I like particularly about rugby, is because it's a very much more. We have to play as a team. You have to. It's not. Even though football, I'm going to just compare rugby and football. I know there's lots of other team sports, but I think they're primarily played in schools. Football, I suppose, more than anything else, is that it tends to be the individual player, like it'd be striker or forward. I don't really know football, but
Sounds good.
If Gary Neville's watching, can we tag him?
Yeah.
Gary Neville, I've asked you, can you redo a podcast? Now I know about football. Like forwards and strikers and goalkeepers. I'm in.
Do you know the offside rule though?
Yeah, 2 people have to pass the ball. There we go.
You got that right.
That's the rule. That's the rule. It has to be a player team.
Spot on, Louise. Well done.
Thank you. But I think there's something about rugby that it's for everybody. So I think I love sports, and I've always played played team sports for that
Yeah.
reason, is that you can be taller, smaller, bigger, kind of, you know, skinnier, because there'll be a position for you to play.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what I adore about rugby in essence, and it's all about saying that, you know, we're here to keep you safe, and to keep you safe you need to listen.
Absolutely.
So you can't just kind of kick a ball about, you have to listen, because you can't have kids passing the ball the way that it does in rugby and kind of let them kind of roll and run with it. You have to kind of keep tight, not control over it, but you have to be saying, look, we need to keep you safe.
Absolutely.
The first rule of rugby is to keep people safe, the second one is to have fun.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting, because when we were speaking to there's a couple of boys that played there that played football, and I said, this will help your football skills.
Okay.
It's all about hand-eye coordination, it's about building your upper strength, which doesn't often happen at their age around football.
Absolutely.
And so any sports that you play, it doesn't really matter what it is, if it's badminton, hockey, basketball, netball, I don't know what, is that enough?
Yeah.
That's enough. Running, which I don't understand.
Dodgeball.
Dodgeball. I've never played dodgeball, you know.
Have you not?
Or handball. No.
Different
I'm
variations of playing it.
I'm old. So, can I just mention, when I see people running, they don't look happy.
No.
Just saying.
No.
Like
long distance
Deep in
runners.
thoughts. Deep in thoughts.
Do you long
do you
distance
think
run?
that's what it is?
Yeah.
So if you're going to play a sport, what would it be? What's your favourite sport?
I have swimming, cycling, triathlon, basically, badminton, football.
Yeah. You
what
do
else?
triathlons?
I have done triathlon before.
Oh, that sounds like hard work, doesn't it?
Yeah. I did a 10k once, that was enough for me.
I have run 10k.
Oh, go on. I did it for Absafe actually, I ran 10k before.
Oh,
Yeah, that's raised money.
nice.
Oh, well
Raised
done.
money.
You could do that again.
Did you know that?
You know what? I was actually heavier then than I am now, so I'd probably get a better time now.
Yeah, you could do it. You could get your nephew to do it as well.
He doesn't run, have you seen him?
Yeah, no, but he's really tall, so he's got really long. Anyway, so I
Getting
don't
off track.
So I guess thank you for coming to speak to us today, and I'm so glad that those sessions work, because sometimes you don't know, right? You don't know. You can do these sessions, and we're quite strict in a way, you know. So we were like, this is what you must do, and all that kind of stuff. And then we taught them how to play British Bulldogs, and they loved it.
Same.
Okay.
They loved it. Absolutely, they loved it.
You wanna explain British Bulldog to the listeners and viewers how it's played?
So basically, there's one person that's it.
Okay.
So I would stand. So if it's me that was it, I would stand in the middle of a court, and everybody else would line up on one end of the court. And the object is you get from one end of the court to the other end of the court. And then if you tapped, what we call tap tackle, but you can actually just tap them on the shoulder or tag them or tick them or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you then become part of the team that's on the court. And the last one that's caught wins.
Oh.
Now, the first time we played it, Ken, remember everybody was in primary school that he was playing against. I don't think I've ever seen anybody so excited. He was like, ah! And I was like, you are 28.
First time I've ever won it.
Was it the first hit? Or it was somebody else who was hit first?
No, he won.
I won the first one. Yeah, I won it.
Okay.
I mean, he wasn't that far off from some other people, so I don't know why he's bragging. But I think what it showed is that you can learn to enjoy it at any age. Do you know what I mean? And I think that was what was. I mean, I was laughing because he was determined to win, and the kids were determined to get him, which was funny.
But when I exercise, it makes me happy. Literally, it
That's
makes
why
me
I'm
happy.
Absolutely. And at the back of that, sports breaks barriers.
Yeah.
So you're no longer an adult, and the kids, when you both of you are taking part and you're enjoying it, there are no barriers. There's no big or small adult or anything like that. You're enjoying just as much as those who are taking part. That's the magic about sports.
And actually, even I wasn't running because I don't run. So I just want to make that very clear to people. I don't want to run. I'm 51. I know it's a shocker to the viewers, but I'm 51. I don't want to run. But actually, I laughed a lot. So I laughed. So it's interesting you talk about like it makes you feel better. The kids felt great because they were laughing. Yeah. You felt great because you were laughing and you won, and I felt great because I was laughing at all of them playing a game they'd never played before. And it's interesting then kids go, can we play?
Absolutely.
Because it's not just, and you can kind of gear it a little bit, so you kind of make sure it's balanced as well. But it's interesting that everybody at the end of it was laughing because it's funny. And and we also taught a couple of them, because a couple of them were getting a bit kind of, oh, I didn't win. I'm like, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Don't want to hear that. Yeah. So you're trying to teach them it's okay. Sometimes you'll win, and sometimes that you won't win.
Absolutely.
But that's okay.
Absolutely.
It's not. It doesn't mean you can't focused to win, but it just means that in life, even if you're a competitive sports person, you're not going to win all the time.
Yeah.
So it's how you deal with not winning can be just as important as how you deal with winning. Yeah,
absolutely.
So if we talk about mental, so we had a great time.
Yeah.
Even though we were very tired when we were doing it, it was usually after a couple of long days, didn't we? Then we were like, oh, going to rugby.
Well,
But afterwards, we it was kind of like we enjoyed it.
It was like, it was a nice rush.
Yeah.
You've touched on a very interesting thing. You've said that you're enjoying it, and something with sports, it's, you know, that aspect of enjoyment, and then the aspect of feeling good if they're taking part.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about it is that it's not only those who take part at the moment in time, there's also those who are watching.
Yeah.
And that's the other magic with sports. So you have folk paying lots of money to go and watch football matches and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's where their well-being comes in, and people get a lifeline through just watching football.
Yeah.
And they're paying lots of money just to watch football, but it makes them feel good, and that's what they're after, actually.
Yeah, that companionship, that community.
Absolutely.
Exactly what I was going to say. It creates a community. It's like a common thing that people. Then you start speaking about other things other than sport. You speak about your lives and how you're feeling and that.
Or even how you're feeling, or how's your partner, or how's your kids, or those kind of things. So, do you want to tell us how you got to this job?
So for me, I got to this job through the virtue of volunteering. So I had an opportunity to volunteer, and I started working with young folk, local community area, gave up my time after school, went, did session with them. The area is not the best areas within the city, so we have a lot of deprivation and issues like that. So there was an opportunity to work with young folk just to keep them out of trouble. So I volunteered my time, and I started off there. Did it for a couple of times. That session went on for me to work at the local academy, and then that's when my career actually started. And I did a wee bit of camps during holiday and things like that.
Nice.
And that's how my career started. And from there, the impact was from me doing stuff after school to start doing things within school during curricular time, working with small groups and on one-to-one basis. And then that progressed to now me trying to coordinate activities at a wider scale within a local area.
So if somebody wanted to help, I mean, I know that you sweet talked us into it, and we kind of offered it a little bit, but we were happy to help. And again, I've said that, you know, Absafe really do like to work with other charities anyway, because it's part of our ethos. So if somebody wanted to kind of, I don't know, say they like running, I still don't understand why, but if you like running, they wanted maybe to come and do a running club, like, so they could just get hold, how would they get hold of you?
Contact me through my work details in the company and my work contact number. I'll leave my details, and they can reach out to me, and then once we've been in contact, we'll go through some basic trainings, things that they need to be aware of when you're there working with young people, and then we have the ordinary PVGs that need to go through. Once that's done, they're good to go. We'll have a couple of meetings beforehand, and they should be good to go. You know, there's one thing about volunteering. People think that, you need to have some level of understanding of the sport that you're taking. You need to have some level of competency, or you need to have some past experience. Sometimes that's not the case. We only need a PVG adult within the room for us to run anything else. And we also work with the academy students, with the schools in the local area. So we have young people who are actually taking sports leadership programs or courses. We have NESCOL students and other organizations who have people who can actually deliver, but they're not technically adults. So we just need an adult in the room for us to run a program. And you'll have a massive impact.
That's cool. I didn't know you did that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Like the kids run the sessions, all the young people.
Yes,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that as well, and I think it's kind of what we do here, isn't it? We encourage young people to come here and volunteer for that reason, because we know it's a stepping stone sometimes for them to build confidence, to build skills, and to build skills where you turn up and do something.
Absolutely.
Because I think kids forget that young people, when they leave school, they've got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They've got to turn up, and they've got to be committed to things, whatever that may be.
It's also nice for younger young people to see older young people getting involved with things like that, volunteering, doing things in their own time, because it's a good role model, isn't it?
And the thing is, most importantly, it's that progression. For me, taking part when I'm in primary school to the level where I'm in the academy where I'm delivering, to me actually becoming an adult who actually is engaged in sports. And then that one trickles down to my children and my children's children. And through that, we actually have a community of people engaged in physical activities. And the benefits of that are just endless. From the impact that it has on our mental and mental health, our physical health, the impact that it has on what the local authority has to spend in terms of health programs and just life issues and things like that. A lot of issues can be mitigated by just people being physically active. Not mentioning antisocial behaviors within the areas.
I think, but you don't even have to do anything. You can go walking. It doesn't.
Absolutely.
So even if you don't want to do a sport, you can start a walking group, or you can start a walking group for any age that people just kind of just walk. Because I think people think that it always has to be some kind of you kind of mega, like we did. So we did our rugby session. So it turned out to be about 50 minutes really. By the time we got there, we got everything out, and then we always have like a warm up and a warm down session. And actually, it wasn't that complex, and it wasn't that physically exertion. Well, it wasn't for me because I didn't do it, but
I was sweating.
You're lying. He was sweating. I mean, the funny thing was, the next day, like, Ken coming to make me hobbling. And I was like, why are you hobbling? And your partner, young Shannon, would go, "It's because you played rugby." And I was like, and he's like, "I know," because I was thinking, I'm not doing it. But there's something about community, like you said, and I think the community is in that wider aspect of community, whereas it's not just people we know, but how do you meet people that you would never normally bump into? And it's usually by you do something that's in common, whether you join a choir or do an art class or do sport. It's all about how we reconnect with people, particularly after COVID. And I think some people have forgotten how to do that, and I think that's why I think our charities work well together, because we're all about community well-being and groups of people coming in and helping people out, and we have the same ethos. Because it's not about us, it's about the community, isn't it? And how we help, and the young people, and what we can get. So the reason that we committed to the rugby was because the outcome was that we wanted young people to feel better. That was it. So. So if you want to do volunteer for Absafe or for the activities coordinator, then get in touch, and then we can we can work towards that. So what is one of your what have you ever, you must have been to see live sport, I guess.
Yes.
So what's the best thing you've seen live?
I have incredible memories. Football, that's always
so what
the top list.
Do you want to tell people what team you support?
Or is that... I don't have a particular team, and I don't want to mention that. He's not gonna edit this. That's why I'm repeating. I'm not putting it out.
We're right, because we don't have football teams. We're right, we don't really support football. So if you could name one sport, I'll tell you mine. So I volunteered at the Rugby World Cup in England.
Okay.
So I, by accident, because we weren't allowed in as volunteers, they were quite mean to us actually at Twickenham, And anyway, so maybe I shouldn't say that, but anyway, it's true. And so one of these stewards went, "Come on, some seats." So me and this woman had met that day. This is about the community. I'd never met this one before. We started chatting. We were just laughing. Went, "Oh, we've got 2 seats there." Probably because we look like a bit older. Probably felt sorry for us. Probably thought,
you need a seat.
Yeah, no, I think it was like that. So I watched Australia and New Zealand in the final. And like with a bunch of Kiwis. So we were in this kind of, stadiums like have a corner bit that's like a triangle. So that's my favourite moment, is that I watched that rugby World Cup final with a bunch of Kiwis. So that was pretty special.
Good atmosphere.
Honestly, it was absolutely brilliant. So I watched the teams go in and then watch the final. But that was amazing. Anyway, so that's mine. What's yours? What would you say?
So football, it was AC Milan playing with a local club. I think it was Barcelona at that time, and it was World Cup club football. So this was in Dubai that they were playing, and just before the game began, we had the players come in, and then they were warming up, and that was the time when Ronaldinho was Ronaldinho. And it was just amazing to see him kicking up the ball, because he's been my idol. So I was like gobsmacked.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, that game went on to penalties, and there's nothing as good as penalties when you're watching a live football game because it keeps you literally on the edge. You're just like yes, and it was a win for AC Milan, and I was delighted.
That's pretty amazing. Do you have? You're not a sports person,
I've
but do you
literally
have?
never been to any sporting event.
Never.
Maybe one football game. I think it was Celtic playing like Inverness or something. I can't remember.
I don't think I actually don't know anybody that's never been to a live game.
Yeah,
like you
I've been
are
to
that
lots of
person.
concerts.
I know
I
you
like
must
music.
Yeah, he does go out, by the way.
I go out, yeah.
Yeah, he goes out. He's not kept
I'm
in
not
a
a
box.
recluse.
No, you're not a recluse. You're not in a box. But that's
Just as you can
fine.
see, I don't like sports.
Well, apparently you enjoyed rugby.
I loved it.
I think that's what we should do. We should take you to a rugby match.
Yeah,
rugby
I've just
se-
never
We'll talk about
enjoyed
rugby sevens.
Yes.
I've never
Rugby
enjoyed
is-
watching sport. I don't
Do you
mind playing sport, but watch it, I just kind of
Do you
turn
know
off.
the thing about we
Outdoors.
were talking about rugby sevens,
Yeah.
and there's always two. You know, you either want to go with the Fijians or the Kenyans because they are on vibe.
Okay.
They are they're
Yeah,
just like you certainly don't. You literally if you ever go, we'll take you to rugby sevens. I mean, it used to be Scotland lost it actually. Went to France, but. We could maybe go to France actually because it's not that
Why
far.
not?
Yeah.
And we'll take you. We should all go together. Let's go rugby sevens together.
Yeah.
But you need to go with the Kenyans or the Fijians because they're on point. They're up for it. They're
Not with the French.
Win or lose.
definitely not. Like, yeah,
It's
when
the
I lose, they're having a party. They don't care. Like, that's
experience.
absolute fact. And Fijians take their rugby really seriously.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
really seriously.
Yeah.
Like that's their. I don't know if it's their nationals. Don't quote me on this, but they're very big into their rugby. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and rugby sevens is good because it's literally 14 minutes. So
Okay.
it's called rugby sevens. So 7
Nice
people
and
play for
short.
7 minutes. So you have lots of
Perfect for my attention span.
yeah. So, and then there's lots of like cup games. So there's lots. So basically every match is with a little break. It's 14 minutes.
Okay.
So there's 7
Perfect.
people that play 7 minutes, then 7 minutes. So each half. And then there's like a massive pool, so you get lots of like a gold cup, and you get the silver cup, and you get the wooden cup. I don't know, you get loads of
So
cups.
it's all over in one day.
Yes.
That is up my alley.
Yeah,
'Cause
so
I
that's-
can't be bothered chasing things for months and months and watching
No.
things.
I mean, you can,
No.
but every they win the trophies on the day.
Oh, nice, yeah.
So, why do you think sport is important? I know we've touched on it slightly, because obviously when you exercise, you release endorphins and you lower your stress hormones.
Yeah.
So, do you see that when you work with young people? Do you see that, because we saw it, didn't we, in the 4 weeks? We only worked with them for 4 weeks, and we definitely saw them grow in confidence.
Yeah.
Even so, we're talking about 4 hours in a month.
Yeah.
We saw them grow in confidence. We saw them grow in attention.
Yeah.
And we certainly saw them grow in, they were happier.
Yeah.
And they definitely added skills. So when we were trying to teach them how to pass a ball in week 1, by week 4 they got it, and they were much better at it.
Absolutely.
So is that your experience working with young groups of people?
Absolutely. It's that and many more other things. You've mentioned something which is very important, and we need to recognize that happened when you're doing the session. However, this also has a tripling effect within classes. In other countries, in the Far East, they actually have physical activities embedded within the curriculum, so much so that every day they need to go out and do something before they go back into class and do something. It's just because there are benefits that they're able to get from being active, whatever you've mentioned, knowing how to share, attention span, feel good hormones, and just that confidence. That trickles back into class. They're able to replicate that, just attention span, listening to what the teacher is saying, knowing how to share, knowing how to be disciplined, ensuring that they finish whatever assignments they've been given, and knowing how to work with others through communication. That comes into class. And it's not given credit. That is what, particularly in some countries within the Western world, but there's quite a lot of benefits that we are able to get from.
And it's all research, but it's interesting. It's because I'm going to talk about caves. You know, I like talking about caves. So when we were in caves, we existed in communities, but actually we work better as communities.
Yeah.
We function better as communities. We exist in communities. So the more that we can get that community feel and I think what sport does, some sports, not all sports, but some sports will then you start looking out for people. You know,
Absolutely.
so you'll say because you start to have to work out that if you look after your teammates, you play better.
Absolutely.
You know, and but I'll tell you a little story. So my daughter plays rugby.
Okay.
She plays for the Quines in Aberdeen, and so she bumped in. She's now a trainer. Maybe she's like it. I'll tell you. She bumped into somebody when she was in Elgin, and they were talking about rugby, and she said, "Oh, my brother used to play for Ross Sutherland."
Okay.
And because I used to coach for Ross Sutherland kids. And he went, "Oh, I remember going there for a tournament once." And she went, "Oh, my mum used to be a coach there." And he went, "Did she used to have pink hair?" And Libby went, "Uh-huh." Now, and the reason he remembered me was I was the only female coach anyways. It wasn't, and I did used to have pink hair. And I was quite loud. I mean, it's a shock, I know. But what he remembered was his son was one of the best players on the pitch, but he was also the rudest.
Really?
So at the end of the day, we had to pick out best players. They were all going, it'll be, I don't remember the names, but it'd be like, oh, it'd be Bob.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, Bob's not getting it. Bob is not getting this award. And so I remember standing there and having this, I'll call it a debate. And I said, we're going to give it to Colin. And they were like, says Colin is the most improved, he's been generous, he's been a team player. Bob may be the best player, as in terms of he scored the most tries, but actually in terms of team, he wasn't that. And he said, and it caused a bit of a hoo-ha from his club.
An escapade.
Definitely a hoo-ha, because his club were proper angry about it. But his dad said she made the right decision, because what she said was rugby at that age particularly is all about team and collaborativeness and being respectful and all those kind of things, and he didn't demonstrate any of those skills.
Shown improvement.
Yeah, shown improvement. So we gave it to Colin and they were fuming.
This young chap used to come to the sessions, doesn't really take part, always crying on the sidelines, doesn't want to take part, evidently had some underlying issues, either ADHD or whatever the case might be. So there's this time, because all the players need to have a chance to play, so he was told, you go up anyways, we are almost winning, but we don't have any choice because we have to play all players, you just go up and take a shot. And so this child was very relaxed, didn't want to go in the first place, eventually got onto the pitch, and as the ball was going, he was just told, if you get the ball, try and shoot. It's as simple as that. Look up, if there's nobody open, try and shoot. That's all what you need to do. Fair enough, they were playing, and then there was a rebound. The ball fell, he caught the ball, looked around, nobody's around him, looked at the coach, and the coach was saying, yes, go for it. Threw the ball, and he scored. And that happened to be the winning
the winning shot.
No way.
So I know the child, the young person, is actually one of my volunteers.
Oh,
That's amazing.
Just from that incident, he started taking up basketball at a local club. He was in primary school, now he's an academy-aged young person, and he's coaching basketball, doing the same thing.
Oh, that's wicked.
And it was just that moment. So there are things that even for you might not even realize when you're coaching when you're taking the rugby session. You just thought, oh, you're playing, you're having fun, it was good, and you've said bye-bye. But clearly and evidently, the kids had fun, and now they want to take part in it out of school. And that's the thing with sports. Sometimes it's just that moment.
Yeah.
I think it's quite interesting because they were quite upset we was not coming back as well.
Yeah,
Were
was it
like,
last week?
is that you sure it's last week? We were like,
Yes.
yes, it definitely is. Definitely is our last week. Definitely is. But it's definitely not put me off. I mean, we probably need to be a bit more organised about it. But it's definitely not put me off to do it again. Those 4 sessions.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I had a great time.
I think you had. I think you had a better time than the kids. And it's funny because then I got a whistle. Everyone asked for a whistle. So I'm quite. I have the whistle. I'm in charge. So if I tell you you're out, you're out. And even he tried, and I was like, no, you're out. Tackle, put them all down. And he was like, and I was like, no, I have the whistle. I'm in charge.
No, I literally just became one of the kids. To be fair, it was uneven numbers. I needed to even things up. That's my excuse.
And interesting, we won't mention names, but one of the young people, one of the kids that turned up, he couldn't speak English actually.
No.
Yeah.
And what was lovely at the end of the last session, he was like, thank you very much, and I was like, oh. Yeah, I mean, just little things like that.
You've seen him becoming more and more engaged each week. The first week he was like,
I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on.
The second week he was like, okay, and then by the end he's like, giving it big. Yeah, he's
so I think there's a universality around
Absolutely.
sport that I think that I noticed is that there was something about he was probably, because nobody knew how to play, he was probably on the same level as everybody else. Because nobody knew how to play. He wasn't coming into something that people were doing. Like none of them knew the rules. Like none of them didn't even watch rugby.
Yeah.
So they didn't even know you had to pass the ball backwards. So
Absolutely.
we were talking basic rugby stuff. And I think that he was probably for the first time in a while, he was on the same level pegging as everybody else, because nobody knew. Well, apart from the fact there was a language issue, but we tried doing the Google Translate. That didn't help.
I'm always scared of Google Translating kids, because sometimes Google Translate comes out with the wrong thing. And you're like, oh no, cancel.
But I think it's about getting involved in something that you love.
Yeah.
But also maybe trying things maybe you haven't thought. And if you don't like it, that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you do, then carry on. But try different sports.
Yeah.
So if you kind of like, I just play football, try different sports.
Absolutely.
I mean, my son, he used to play rugby, now plays lacrosse.
I love lacrosse.
I've never played lacrosse. Yeah. I just think you like things with sticks. I think you just like running around with sticks. That's what I think.
It's like lacrosse.
Yeah, so it's it, but he'd never tried it before. But he somebody said to me, come along and try it, and he tried it at 21. Yeah. And I think that's the point, is that sometimes people go, I've only just played football, but try other sports, like say badminton, squash.
Absolutely.
You've said you've done triathlons in the past. I've done hockey, netball, rugby.
Like hockey, see, that's got a stick.
Yeah.
Like
I love hockey.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other message, is that try different things, because you just don't know sometimes what tricks for you, or that you think, I really enjoyed that.
Like Victor said, it could be that one moment, like that one moment in sport where you're just like, this is it for me.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned there, it's that aspect of, that young person, if I could refer to that particular incident, for him it's also confidence.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine, he's intimidated, he can't speak the language, but for him to have the confidence to actually come up to you and say thank you, that's something totally different.
He said thank you very much.
Oh.
And bye-bye. One little heart. We don't even have hearts.
We should have videoed it. It's illegal, we didn't.
Now there's another thing of breaking down barriers, which you've touched on, is it doesn't matter whatever language you speak. Think of it, football. It doesn't matter what part of the world you're from. We are playing World Cup, and we are playing at a particular set of rules, and everybody is happy with that.
Yeah.
And nations come together. 1 minute they want to fight each other, the other minute they say, we'll go against each other on football games. So, and it helps to break down barriers.
It does.
It can be a tool to settle scores and political arguments and things like that. Just for people to come together and say, it's okay, you guys won that, it was a fair win, and things like that. And the other thing that I wanted to touch on is, now particularly for us as an organization, we're trying to come away from talking about sports to talk about physical activity.
Yeah.
Just because of the stigma attached to the word sport, because they think it's something that you need to have some level of skill.
Yeah.
You need to have an investment of time investment of money. If you want to practice at a high level, you need to compete at a high level, which is really not the case. As you've rightly touched, it could be a simple brisk walk every day. That's being physically active, and you're able to benefit from all the other positives that you get from being active. And that's the thing with sports. It's, you know, you don't have to, you know, have the gear, you don't have to know it all, you just have to be there and be willing to move around.
Well, we have to say we can demonstrate that 4 weeks of rugby.
Definitely.
Because
I had a great time.
we had a great time. We didn't have any gear.
No, not a lot of skill.
A lot of gear and no idea.
We had no gear and no idea. That's what we did.
made it work.
We made it work, yeah.
And I had a great outcome. 2 young people wanting to be involved in sport.
And everybody enjoyed it, I think.
Yeah, I think they
yeah.
did. Well, they all came back. We didn't lose any children along the way.
Metaphorically or
Oh,
physically.
they all came back.
we didn't, yeah. There's no kids all running around alone.
It was a win-win-win-win.
It was,
went really well.
And it was quite interesting actually, because we had one girl that came and she was only tiny, and walked out. We just happened to walk out with her parents, and I said, "Look, I'll apologise now." She had a younger brother. I said, "Because we're going to be teaching in tackling next week," and the little brother's looking at me like that. She's going to be taking him out.
No, she had a great time as well.
Yeah, she did have a great time actually.
On the point of all gear and no idea, is there's tons of resources online, and also with us in terms of, you know, us providing trainings and things like that to equip folk to be able to help with the session. There are some activities you literally don't have to do. You don't need any equipment as such. You just know how to conduct that activity. Like the one that you've mentioned, coming from one end to another.
Yeah.
You didn't really have much to use. It was someone standing at the middle. You come from this area, you go to the other side. It's as simple as that. At the end of it, someone was trying to.
Yeah.
So you can see sometimes it doesn't really have to be you know, a lot of resources. It could be bare minimal, and folk would enjoy. They'll stay engaged and they'll want to do it, and it keeps them off trouble. I remember when we were young, we would play football, and it was, you know, polythene bags just put together, put a rope around. That's your wee football. A goal post, no need of that. You have shoes, I have a pair. 1, 2, 1, 2, good to go.
Jumpers.
Jumpers. Yeah, always jumpers. Yeah, jumpers or bits of bags or whatever's going around. And I think you're right. And I think we've lost that sense of let's just play. I think getting back to play, I think is really important, not just for kids but for adults as well. There's a new kind of breed of, I suppose, CEOs or business owners that say instead of having a toolbox, you bring your play box. So and it's literally so you bring a box that you learn how to play again. Because we know that accesses different parts of the brain. It's like doing arts and sports. They're all part of that part of the brain. And we know that to have a very healthy person, you need all parts of those brains to be activated. So I love that saying, instead of just bringing, I've got a tools in my toolbox, actually, let's bring your play box. Let's see what you can bring. And I think physical activity, however that is part of that. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter then if you miss the kick or, I don't know, or if you get caught or, you know, whatever, but I think there's something really funny about playing hide and seek. I don't know why.
We've got lots of games. Let's go.
Because there's something, I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? But there's something funny about a group of adults playing hide and seek. Because it's funny. Yeah. It's funny, but it gets you out, gets you about, gets you talking, gets you laughing. It gets you outside, and those kind of things I think we've lost because we've all become a little bit too serious and a little bit too adult. Yeah. And it doesn't mean you have to do that all the time, but I think even if we can encourage adults to volunteer and get back to playing. Then actually what that does, it does help your mental well-being and it also allows you to engage parts of your brain that you probably haven't for a while. Absolutely. So therefore you become better at what you do in your day job because you've played hide and seek with a bunch of kids or a bunch of adults. Or, I mean, we're very lucky here, I think, because we get to play a lot.
Yeah, we do.
A lot.
Probably too much.
Every day. I mean, but I think that allows us to be more creative, doesn't it? Because we're not sat and we're not kind of doing. And I'm not saying there are times, and there are obviously jobs that you can't do that in all the time.
Absolutely.
But I think in terms of, if you want to be happier in your job, then you have to bring a bit of play into that and a bit of fun, because otherwise you don't actually function to your best ability at all.
Absolutely.
I think that's also key if you're working with children or young people. I think you need to still keep part of your brain in that mindset as a child or a young person, because you can't relate to them otherwise.
Yeah.
You know?
And you'd be amazed with the number of companies, big multinational companies, that are now embracing fun, quote in quotes, within their mission, vision, and within their ethos.
I mean, Google kind of led that, didn't they?
Yes, absolutely, yes. And that was a way to mention that. It's part of the core values, is that you need to have fun in some shape or form whilst you're doing your job, because as you've correctly said, it just helps you to be, creative to some element. And then there's the aspect of retention. You just enjoy your job and you're able to do it all.
But we know that if you laugh with the endorphins, we know if you smile you raise endorphins. So even just smiling at work.
Not a forced smile though.
Not a forced smile. My friend was that Wednesday Addams thing. You see the Addams Family film, and she goes, and they say smile, and she goes.
I haven't seen it.
That's my favourite moment in that film, and she just goes. But I think there's that genuine sense of joy, and I think we've lost that sense of joy, because I laugh quite easily, as you know, and I find joy in the small things, because it's the small things that can be joyous. I won't tell you what I saw today, but it's just not that. No, not that. But
that doesn't bring joy to anyone.
But there's just some things that you can just make you smile, right? So whether it's you see a dog walking along quite happily, or some kids that are just walking along smiling. I had to drive through town today, and I very rarely see kids smile, actually.
No, they don't.
They're on the phones, or they look, so like, even if they just have found something to feel joy about, that'd be nice. But even the adults have found joy about it, that'd be nice. But anyway.
You mentioned something very interesting about smile there, and the feeling that people get. And I remember walking into an office sometime, and there was a notice, big one on the wall, and it said, different people bring different things to the team. Others when they walk in, and others when they walk out.
That's so true.
And I think we've all experienced that, haven't we? We've all experienced being in spaces where you think, I can sit here for a while and we can chat, or we can get some work done, and then you've been in spaces you go, oh my goodness, this feels so oppressive. And it's quite interesting, and it's a felt experience, isn't it? You feel it, and you can almost, it's a tingly thing, you feel it, and it's something sometimes you can't quite put your finger on, but it's because you can, and I also know that when you are with a group of people that have a positive, fun attitude, you know that you'll be more creative, you'll get more work done, but also it feels like your days are shorter.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're sitting with a bunch of people that are quite, I call them fun sponges, the ones that will literally take all the fun away just by their presence. It's almost they absorb it like people that absorb emissions, you know those trees they plant beside of roads to help with emission absorption. They're those people, aren't they? They literally and you can feel it. It's almost like, give it me back, and you're sucking it away from them, and you're like,
totally.
But it's quite, and we all know that. We all know that works, but we don't teach our kids that. We don't teach our young people that, is that, you can surround yourself. So if something that's happening to you that isn't positive, and you can change it. And I know some kids, can have difficulty with that. But they want to be part of this. I'm gonna digress a little bit, bear with me. So I say to kids all the time, I go, we're not the cool ones. And I say, but they're only the cool ones because you've named them. Mm-hmm. So they're only the cool kids, and I don't know if you use the word cool anymore, I don't know what goes down.
I was going to say, that alone shows me you're not a cool kid.
And I've never been. So, but people go, they're the popular kids. And I said, they're only popular because you've named them popular. But if you didn't give them that name, then they wouldn't be popular. So instead of just saying they're the popular kids, that's just their group. But you've got this group. So they're not more popular than you. You just perceive them as more popular, but they're probably under more pressure to do a certain thing, look a certain way. And actually, you can do your own thing, but they're only popular because you've named them that. Oh, they're the popular kids. You've given them that label.
Absolutely.
You can take that label away and just actually not think of them like that.
Absolutely.
And I think if we can give kids permission to say, okay, they're just different, then it's okay.
Yeah.
They're into different things. Maybe they've got a bigger. I mean, you know what it's like when kids are walking down, corridors in schools, and they think, oh, they're the popular kids and they're the bigger group. Actually, a lot of them don't even like each other.
No, it's true.
Or they're being, sometimes a little bit mean on
always
groups and stuff.
On,
and they can feel really lonely in that group. So people assume all the time that just because you're surrounded by a lot of people that you are less lonely, and you speak to adults, and adults will say very similar things, that you be surrounded by a lot of people but still feel lonely. So I always say to kids, don't put labels on people because you think they're either better, different, or they're having more fun than you, or they're doing better than you. That's not usually the case. We all have similar things in our lives that make us feel anxious or happy, or feelings are temporary. So even if you wake up in the morning and you're not feeling great, probably by lunchtime, if you surround yourself with people that aren't that emissions absorber, that you will generally feel better, whether that's you sitting in the library reading a book, or whether that's you doing sports at lunch, or whether you think, right, I'm going to volunteer with Victor this afternoon, so I know that I'm going to get people that I can go and have fun with. If you can do all of that, then you will generally feel better.
Absolutely.
Again, we can't label people. They're the pretty ones, and I'm thinking only because you've told them.
Yes.
And then they start believing it.
And then they start believing their own narrative, because if you say it often enough, you'll believe it. But if you just said that's just a group, like I'm just a group. Find the people that that don't take from you all the time. Don't go to the treat emission thing or the fun sponges. Try and find a group of people that, and if that's through sport, then great. If that's through volunteering, which we talk here before. I know I'm going to digress a little bit, but we talk here about kindness, and if I'm kind to you, for instance, which I believe I might be, it actually
I'll give you that.
No, that's fine. But it makes me feel better, because we know kindness helps me more than you. You get the benefit, I get the benefit, Ken gets the benefit, even just being a byproduct. Sorry.
A byproduct. I'm not
bystander, not even that. No. Anyway,
I'm a bystander.
Bystander. Yeah. So then everybody kind of feels that. So I think that's what we need to understand, is that we dismiss kindness as a weakness, and actually it's a powerful thing to be, because the more kind we are, the more that other people will feel kind, and that when someone's been kind to you, you feel good, but actually you feel better.
Absolutely.
So it helps both parties. So us doing that rugby for you, it actually helped us. We felt good about it. We felt good about it. So even though it helped the kids, which it did, and we helped you, which it did, actually we felt good about it as well.
Sense of purpose. A sense of purpose. You feel, I'm contributing, and that inversely helps with the well-being, which we were on about in the initial stages. That it helps or it benefits your well-being more than even the people who are taking part in the session. So
it's true.
Sense of belonging, you're engaged, you're working within the community, and you have a purpose as a human being, and that's all we want in the different things that we do in life, beyond just being able to survive. We all want to have like a sense of purpose, and that's why people go to different things, be it religion, be it prestige, or whatever the case might be. It's that, what's my purpose living?
So I want to say thank you, Victor. Thank you for the opportunity, letting us run some rugby sessions and making Ken happy.
I'll take that.
Get my yearly exercise in 4 weeks. It's good.
We'll put your details on this podcast and this YouTube edit. Is that what it's called? YouTube video? YouTube? Anyway. And if you want to get involved at every level, then give you a shout, and I promise that you won't regret it. So thank you very much for coming in.
Pleasure is all mine. Really, thank you so much for this chat.
We'll do some work together in the future. She says. Laughing.
More rugby.
More rugby. Maybe more rugby. Thank you for watching. If you want to subscribe, you can do that below. I mean, I've just said that, but I don't actually know.
I'll hit the website.
Thanks. And if you want to donate, let us know. If you want to come volunteer, if you just want to watch and just put a smile on your face, but get involved. Do things that make you feel better, whatever that may be. And remember that feelings are temporary. So that if you are feeling a little bit lonely, a little bit lost, there's people like Samaritans that can help. But it'll be temporary feelings, so reach out to people that can help. So
if you want to be a guest on any of our future podcasts, hit me up.
Can we get Gary Neville?
I'll try. Gary Neville, if you want to be a guest on our podcast.
I feel like I'm now stalking you, Gary Neville. I feel like
always.
Does it make any difference that Stu's like a mad United fan?
Get him on.
My Stu?
Yeah, we'll need to get him on to speak to
Gary, no,
appeal to Gary Neville.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm old, Gary. Come on and just...
Thank you for watching, everyone.
Yeah, right, thank you. All right, we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.